6 years ago, I teamed up with Jesse Enkamp, the karate nerd. Finally, how do you feel?
Yeah, I'm so excited to see what it's like in there.
And embarked on an epic journey across China's Fujian province. We explored the martial arts of the region, their relationship to Okinawan karate, and their origins in the mythology of the Southern Shaolin Temple and the secret societies of the late Qing dynasty. Last year, I then made the journey to Okinawa myself, where my friend James Pankovic introduced me to the martial arts of the island. Now, I'm returning back to Fujian to dig deeper and see what other styles I can uncover. I'm now back here in Fuzhou. It's been 6 years since I was last here when I filmed that series with Jesse Enkamp. I'm staying in the absolute coolest hotel. I'm going to show you guys this. Check this out. So I'm staying in this. They said it's almost 200 years old, this place I'm staying. And it was only 300 and something renminbi a night, so about, what, $40–50, but check this place out, it's amazing. And this is why I love Fujian so much. Look how cool this place is. They've got the old traditional like courtyard here with all the lanterns. The rooms are all along the side. They've got this really cool old tea table here with some bonsais on it. Ni hao. They got a whole calligraphy thing up here. And look at the size of the thresholds on the door. So in old China, the height of these door thresholds would kind of determine your class. So whoever lived in this when it was built was obviously incredibly wealthy. And then they've got, that's kind of the new Chinese trend now, is dressing up in period costumes. So they've got all the dresses there. This would have been to make soy milk, like to make tofu, to grind the soybeans. Yeah.
喝点茶吗？
哦，现在不用，我出去了，谢谢。So they also have a tea set and a big tea table there. So anyone that stays in this place can just go and sit and have tea and just chat with the owners. It's very cool. I'm actually staying right in the heart of old Fuzhou, right on the river. Look at this, it's absolutely beautiful, this place. This is definitely why Fujian is possibly one of my favorite provinces in China. Maybe I should have picked Southern Fist instead of Northern Fist to learn, and then I could have actually come here and train. Check out this temple ahead of me. Let's have a quick gander at the temple, but then I am taking you to the Ryukyu Hall because I want to talk a little bit about the connection between Fujian martial arts and Okinawan martial arts. Let's have a quick look at this temple. The architecture and vibe of the place really makes me think of Taiwan, and that's no coincidence because most of the culture of Taiwan is originally from here in Fujian. You know, the predominant dialect spoken in Taiwan is Southern Hokkien, and yeah, because most Taiwanese are Oh, we're not supposed to photo inside. Most Taiwanese are descended from Fujian, so you can see the temples, the gods, everything's very, very similar. So I want to just interrupt this video briefly to talk to you guys about a product that I use quite a lot myself. Now, I think you know me well enough by now to know that I would not endorse just anything. If I'm going to promote something, it's only going to be something that I truly believe in and something that I genuinely do use myself. Some of you may know that I also work as a journalist and geopolitical analyst. And having this line of work has made me acutely aware of the biases that are present in a lot of mainstream media reporting on world events. And as such, it becomes harder to know what's really going on and to separate reality from the narratives that are being spun. And so one of the products that I use to get around that is something called Ground News. Ground News is an app and website that combines news from around the world in one place so you can compare coverage. For every news source, you can see if they have a political bias, how reliable their reporting is, and who owns them. You can verify your information and know where the news is coming from. With Ground News, you can see what the media is exaggerating, sensationalizing, over or under reporting. You can see who funds each publication, compare coverage, and think critically about the information you consume. Go to check.ground.news/monkeystealspeach to check it out now. If you subscribe for my link, you get 40% off the Vantage subscription. If we want to understand the martial arts of Fujian, then we need to understand the place of Fujian and the people of Fujian. So Fujian, it's the most southeastern province of China. It's very mountainous, very rough, difficult terrain, with mountains on the inland part and then facing the sea. And as such, Fujian traditionally, for a lot of history, has, always looked more outwards than it has towards Beijing. It's always been very, I'm not going to say independent, but, there's always been this big separation. There's a saying, 山高皇帝远, which is like the mountains are high, the emperor's far away. It's very much, people do their own thing here. And, this is very evident in, if you look at how, if you go, as I said earlier, the people of Taiwan are descended from Fujian, and even today they still speak Fujian dialect. And even if you go through Southeast Asia, you go to Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, the Philippines, most of those Chinese communities there are from Fujian and speak some variety of Fujian, whether it's southern Hokkien. Hokkien is the word Fujian in their own dialect. So whether it's the southern Hokkien or the Fuzhou dialects that's spoken here in Fuzhou, that's what you're going to hear throughout much of the Chinese diaspora in Southeast Asia. And so, as I say, Fujian has always been very, very unique and very sort of separate. And we have to be careful politically using that kind of wording in China. China's very touchy about any sort of idea of separation from the state. But I'm just talking about culturally. The dialect here in Fujian is completely unintelligible. Sorry, I'm just walking through a construction site right now, and I don't even know if I'm going the right way. Let me just get out of this. The Fujian dialect is completely unintelligible to anyone outside of the province. It's completely different to Mandarin, it's completely different, to Cantonese. And even within the province of Fujian, because the topography is so rough and it's so hard to travel from region to region, there are multiple dialects within the province that are also completely unintelligible with each other. So I'm here in Fuzhou now. The Fuzhou dialect, which would be considered Eastern Hokkien, is completely unintelligible to down in Quanzhou, Yongchuan, Xiamen, Zhangzhou, places like that where they speak Southern Hokkien, which, nowadays by modern transport is only, about an hour away by high-speed rail. But their dialects are completely unintelligible with each other, to the point where, traveling between regions, they'll use Mandarin, essentially Northern Chinese, to communicate with each other. And while Fujian people are perhaps the most outward-looking and the most open in that respect, having these vast overseas networks, through extended family, through, these, various guilds and secret societies, particularly during the latter part of the Qing dynasty, they're in one sense very open, but they're also very, very closed and very, very clannish. And so, if you go to a lot of the Chinese communities in Southeast Asia, you'll see that individual places from Fujian and also from Guangdong will have their own guild halls. You'll find the Quanzhou Guild Hall, the Yongchun Guild Hall, the Chaozhou, the Guangzhou, the Fuzhou Guild Hall. They'll all have their own guild halls where they basically look after their own. If you're a person who's gone over to Southeast Asia from one of these places, you join one of these guilds where people will be from the same hometown as you, they'll speak the same dialect, they'll have the same background, and you all kind of look out for each other. And this has had a really, really big impact on the way Fujian martial arts are as well, because the Fujian martial arts are very, very different to martial arts, I would say, from any other part of China. There is some crossover with Cantonese martial arts, but still, I think in their construction and their appearance, they're very, very unique. And I think a lot of that's to do with the Fujian martial arts have traditionally, and I would say even to this day, been a lot more closed to outsiders, a lot more kept within the clan, kept within the family, kept within, the people that speak that particular version of that dialect even. And so it can be quite difficult for outsiders to really, access the Fujian martial arts. And while Fujian martial arts may be practiced, their practice might be quite widespread. You find them all through Southeast Asia. Very, very strong Fujian martial arts in Taiwan. I would arguably say perhaps some of the best in the world. It's although they're very widespread, they're also not very public and not seen as much. And you'll notice if you think of Chinese martial arts, you'll tend to think of either Northern martial arts or you'll think of Cantonese martial arts, but not that many people will really be too familiar with what Fujian martial arts really look like. I mean, obviously us as serious martial artists, kung fu nerds and lovers will, but for your average people, when they think of Chinese martial arts, they won't think of Fujian ones. Okay, if it is still here, it should just be up ahead. Let's flip the camera around and have a look. The Royuan Post House. Maybe it's something to do with that. Oh, yep. It says that this was also called the Ryukyu Hall. Let's take a look. Well, this is the building. I'm not too sure if it's open or it all looks a bit, maybe it's under renovation or something. Let's see. Oh, there's a front entrance here, hopefully it will be open. I don't want to have walked all this way for nothing. This was I wanted to take Jesse Enkamp here when I brought him to Fujian 6 years ago, but we didn't make it. So I thought, now I'm back, I'm not gonna skip it this time. And it does look open. This isn't looking too promising. 你好，它开了吗？我可以进去看吗？
现在还没有，但你要是看进去看一下。
哦 ，OK， 谢谢。哦，在装修是吗？ Oh, well, it is closed. Ah, well, that's... I don't know, can we go in? I don't know. The guy said I can look. I don't know if he meant I can look inside, but this is the Ryukyu Guild Hall. Don't know if I'm supposed to be in here. Don't know if I'm going to get kicked out. I just want to have a look quickly. Yeah, it looks like it's all under renovation, doesn't it? It looks like they're fixing it all up. But look at that. Look at the detail on the roof up there. It's beautiful. And so, if I understand correctly, the purpose of this hall was essentially a residence, almost like a dormitory or a hotel for the people from the Ryukyu Kingdom, which is now Okinawa, because back in the Ming and the Qing dynasties, the Ryukyu Kingdom was a tributary to the Chinese Empire, and so basically the Ryukyuan kings would have to get the blessings of the Chinese emperors to rule, and they would send their top officials, scholars, aristocrats, all the important people that were running the Ryukyu Kingdom would come to China to study. And they would take a boat from Okinawa, Ryukyu, to Fuzhou, and then they would stay over here for a period of time, and then this sort of served as kind of an important stopover and something like a consulate, and a place where they could conduct official affairs. And then they would stay here for a period of time, and then they would make the journey up north, staying in different places along the way to get to Beijing, and then they would spend time in Beijing studying and sit the imperial examinations, and then they would make the arduous journey from Beijing back down here to Fujian, which I imagine would be probably months back then. And then they would stay here, they would rest, recover, gather themselves, to then make that journey by boat back to Okinawa. And so, as we talked about when I was in Okinawa, we talked about Okinawan martial arts. The origin of a lot of those was really from this connection between the Ryukyu Kingdom and in particular here in Fuzhou, because there was this strong cultural connection between the two places. And when I was in Okinawa, James gave us a very good introduction to Kume village, which was the part of Naha city where the Chinese community was based. And there was he talked about the 36 families who came over from here in Fuzhou. They came over to Okinawa to essentially kind of administer trade and the relations with the Ryukyu Kingdom, and almost in a way to kind of watch and guard over the Ryukyuans. So this is very much the other end of that. We were in Kume village in the Chinese gardens and the Confucian temple there with James, and now we're at the very other end in the Ryukyu Hall here in Fuzhou.